This episode of Podcast contains adult themes and disturbing recollections. It is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Certain mentioned names in this episode have been censored out of respect to the privacy of the individuals. Enjoy the episode. Let's piece these broken pieces together. Alrighty, we are on to episode 8 here tonight. And our scenery, our setting, as you guys can see, is different. We're actually in Old Town, Sacramento tonight. And my guest tonight, we're going to get into some real discussions. And it's going to get pretty dark at times, and it could get pretty deep into certain topics because we're going to delve into the life of my good friend here, who I've known since Sac City days.
Jeez,
long time, almost 20 years. And he's going to talk to us about his the good days, the bad days, and everything in between as far as what he's gone through. He's definitely not had your fairy tale type of lifestyle. So get ready to learn, and that's why I'm here. My good friend, Dennis McBride. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, my friend. Thank you.
Man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Fellow musician. He mentored me when I was a young buck around here, and I didn't know.
You did it all yourself. All I did was just point you in a direction. You're amazing.
It was fun, though, those Christmas shows back in the day for the Red Hat Society. That was fun. Yeah, he definitely taught me, though, to be myself, which I think is something we can all do more of. And I still need reminders at times, even today.
We all do.
At 35. But
I'm 52.
52?
I still got to get hit in the back of the head sometimes.
How is everything going for you? I know you've been through many challenges throughout your life, but more recently, and we'll delve into your past, but I'd like to start with this hike that you went on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
You can go to my YouTube channel. There's
Yeah.
only 4 videos on it.
That's fine.
It's just Love Matters. I'd watched an episode of Rick Steves' Europe.
Tell me about that. I haven't.
And
heard
it was
of
it's just some PBS show and he goes through Europe and sees different places. And one of this particular episode, they were talking about backpacking through Europe.
Okay.
And I started thinking, well, if you can backpack through Europe, why can't you backpack across California?
Yeah.
And because I love to go backpacking, so I thought, why not? So I put my pack together, way too much stuff. It was about 45 pounds. I mean, I brought my guitar and everything, and because I had this ambition. I was like, you know what? I'm going to walk from Sacramento to Fort Bragg, because Fort Bragg is my favorite place in California.
Yeah.
And I mapped it out. I figured it'd take me a couple weeks to get there. I was ambitious. 3 days later, I was done. But the thing was, it was less about the extent of the trip, because when I talking about it, the idea of it is magical, of course. But that Friday morning when I sat there and I had my whole pack put together, and it was time to go, that's when I shot that video, and I was scared.
Yeah.
Because I don't take guns with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't take knives with me. The only time I've ever needed any type of weapon is when I had one. So I wherever I go, I just don't take them with me.
Yeah.
And so this trip was no different. And I started walking. And with each step, it was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even put the pack on at first because I parked at a friend's house, so I wouldn't have my van, and
Yeah.
because I figured I was gonna be gone for weeks.
Yeah.
Not for a few days. So I parked at a friend's house, and I pull the pack out, and I go to put it on, and it was funny as hell. I was like a dog spinning in a circle trying to put this damn thing on.
How heavy would
It
you?
was really 45 pounds. 45
pounds. Wow.
Yeah, because I had to, because I thought I was going to go all that way. I had to have a bear canister because you can't have food if you don't have a bear canister, bears will eat you.
Yeah.
So
What is in a bear canister?
your food.
Okay.
Because
I see.
you put it somewhere away from your camp so that
wow.
if a bear smells it, because they can still smell it,
Yeah.
they can't get into it because it's a type of plastic that even a bear can't break.
Right.
But you don't want it in your tent while they're trying to find out whether they can break it or not.
Yeah.
You want it somewhere else.
Wow.
And you carry that type of thing when you go in a place where there's going to be bears.
Yeah.
And since my ambition was all that way, I carried that and a whole bunch of other stuff that I didn't need.
Yeah.
But the first day I got to the Yolo Causeway, right at the bottom of the Yolo Causeway, where it really starts to go across.
Uh-huh.
At the bottom there's a little pathway, and there's homeless people who live down there, and
Yeah.
it's a little messy, and people were fishing down there, and I
Yeah.
just set up camp and fell asleep.
Yeah.
Woke up the next day and walked through Davis and camped the second night at an orchard the other side of Davis.
Wow.
And, I was thinking that, because before I left, I called the police and I called state troopers and, just to make sure I could do it.
Oh wow.
Because, think about it.
The legalities of it.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
can you really, you can say that I should be able to walk there, but can you?
Yeah.
And you can.
Yeah.
You just simply cannot walk along the freeways.
Oh wow.
But like 80 has, like the Yolo Causeway
Right.
has a path
Yeah.
that goes right along the freeway.
Yeah.
So you just simply walk along.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
no.
driven it.
Yeah,
I've driven past it. many
Yeah,
times.
and I think that was the real eye opener for me, is because it really took me 3 days of hard work to get from Sacramento to Winters.
Winters. Wow.
And Winters, that's a 40-minute drive.
Yeah. 40-minute drive. Yeah.
And when I got to when I finally realized, because the third day I woke up, it was foggy and rainy and wet, and everything I put on was wet.
Yeah.
The tent was wet.
Yeah.
I'm walking in the wet, and it started raining, and I was already really sore, and I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And
you were happy to end it there.
it's less about whether I was happy or not, because at the time I was not. I felt defeated. I felt as if I'd set a goal for myself and couldn't accomplish it. 'Cause that's one of the things I won't say that I'm adamant about, but it has been a problem that I've had in my life. When I set a goal, you cannot get in my way. I will accomplish the goal, whether I have to step on your neck or not.
Yeah.
I will accomplish this goal.
Have you gotten in your own way?
Oh, many times.
Yeah.
And that's part of the fear.
Yeah.
And that was what the beautiful part about that trip was, because I was so afraid that it just kind of broke it.
Yeah.
And then since that trip, and this was just in January,
Right.
early January, since that trip, that overwhelming fear that seemed to really be something I was almost its victim.
Yeah.
Because it would just pull me lots of different ways, and I'd be in a great place and then a bad place, and a great place and a bad place, and it was just not. It was a very uncomfortable place to live.
Yeah.
And even though, because of the work I've done in recent years, it's not nearly as severe as it was when I was younger. It's still there. And if I want to live, I got to be able to understand how that works. And by taking that simple walk 3 days, it worked.
Yeah. What would you say you learned from that experience? What was the...
I would say that the best thing that I learned is that there's nothing really to be afraid of. I make all of it up.
Yeah.
I make all of my fears up.
Yeah.
In reality, I was just laying in a tent,
Yeah.
walking down a street. In reality, that's all I did for 3 days.
Yeah. Very matter of fact.
Nothing special,
Yeah.
no big, there was no great amazement that was happening. It was just walking for 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet, it was so life-changing because there was nobody else there with me.
Yeah.
Well, no human person with me. I mean, we always have God with us. You know,
Right.
we always have that spirit with us.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the beautiful part of my life. I wouldn't be here without that.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows there's been plenty of things trying to kill me my whole life, including me. You know,
Yeah.
and none of it has been successful because I needed to be here.
Yeah.
You know, I of all you know me, in this podcast it's difficult to be this beginning. They don't really have a point of reference of who I am.
Right.
In order to give them that point of reference, it's important to really know that
Where you came from.
where I came
Yeah.
from, all these different things.
And
I mean, people talk about fear, and to understand fear, the type of fear that I've had to deal with is it's taken 50 years of my life to find a way to deal with all that fear, so that I can be this person and finally be the person that I wanted to be my whole life.
So you can say now, based on this backpacking experience, that you conquered fear.
Well, we want to spike the football because somebody tells us that we have to be done.
Yeah.
I've accomplished this goal.
Right.
I've walked this mountain. I've whatever the hell bullshit we want to offer ourselves.
Yeah.
What I found in my life is every time I learn something, my mind makes me forget it. Because the way our brains work is we are constantly rewriting dendrites, these little connections inside of our brains. We're constantly rewriting these things. Now, if we want to solidify a lesson, we write that dendrite, we forget about it, and we come from another direction. We write another version of it. And if we come with the same solution, that's a very strong answer. And if we come from it from multiple directions, that's a solid answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when facing and dealing with my fears, whether looking at the physiology, the anatomy, the neuroscience, or whatever,
Yeah.
understanding the traumas, that was necessary. That's what got me through. I hope I didn't just lose my train of thought.
No.
Okay,
No.
you understand? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For you, it's from all aspects of humanity.
Right.
You were able to get to that same point, as you're saying.
And it's more all aspects of my humanity.
Right. Your humanity.
See, because I all of my answers are my answers. I can offer them to you, but they're simply my answers.
Yeah.
And if you try to follow my answers, you're likely going to find yourself in a bad place because they're not your answers.
It's not my experience.
Right.
Yeah.
So the best I can offer you is this is what happened.
Yeah.
So I guess the best thing that I can say right now is to give you who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
And
Is that what you'd like now?
No, 100%. Yeah. So we started at the semi-end. Now we're going to go to the semi-beginning. And first of all, you were born in...
I was born in Belleville, Illinois.
Oh, really? See? I didn't know that. I thought you were born in Missouri.
I'm Belleville, Illinois is right across the river from St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay. Okay.
So when people ask me where I'm from, I say St. Louis because that's where I grew up, going in and out of St. Louis. But I actually grew up in a place called Alton, Illinois, which is a little north of St. Louis, about 30 miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Is that where you learned to say guitar?
Oh, absolutely. Boy, that's all. That's Mississippi River. That's some serious Mississippi mud right there.
I love that. I love that. So childhood.
Okay.
Talk about that.
And I'm going to preface this with, last year I went to a therapist.
Okay.
And I was talking to him, and he quite literally, he didn't believe the crap that I was saying to him. And I talked to my sister and my brother one of my brothers a few days past that and explained my experience, and they were both like, yeah, we've been exactly in that place where therapists just can't possibly believe that people lived that and survived it.
Yeah. How many
So,
siblings do you have?
I have 3 older brothers and 1 younger sister.
And you all grew up in this same age difference, roughly?
Well, my oldest brother's passed away. He passed away a couple years ago.
Okay.
My second oldest brother, he's 4 years older than I. My next oldest brother is 1 year older than I, and my sister's 3 years younger than I.
Okay.
So I mean, it a little bit spread out, but not nearly too bad. I mean, it's 5 kids.
Yeah. So you're the second to last.
Second to the last.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest boy.
Yeah. How was that, being the younger brother?
Before we go there, we have to go back a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, we really do, because in order to understand that family dynamic, you need to know the severity of what my family was. I mean, when that doctor asked me to give me a brief description of your childhood, I said it was dysfunctional and violent.
Okay.
And he's like, well, that's a little too brief. And I go, okay, well, and this is in the interim of your listeners. Okay,
Yeah.
this is for them. If the traumas that I experienced, if I go into too much detail, I can actually give you those traumas.
I got you.
And I would like very much not to do too much of that.
Okay.
So that I don't offer that to your listeners.
Sure.
So with that in mind, I will give what I have to give so you get the point of reference that I'm talking about.
Okay.
So the first time I was beaten unconscious, I was 3.5 years old. The first time I was sodomized, violently sodomized and raped, I was just under 6. Now, the scary part about the rape was that I didn't understand what the hell the guy was doing. It wasn't the first time I'd had sex. It was just the first time I'd been raped.
Wow.
And it just scared the shit out of me because I didn't know what he was doing. But he put a beautiful caveat on it. He said, I love you, when he was done with it. And that really, of all the problems that I had growing up, the hardest thing that I had to deal with was understanding what love meant. Because people used me for a punching bag, or for a sex toy, or for just an emotional gas station. And when they needed me, they loved me.
By these people, you're referring to, I'm assuming, people in the neighborhood, outside of family?
Everyone. I didn't know. I didn't know a single adult who didn't have sex with me, including my own mother.
Wow.
Okay. Not one. And let me put this back. I knew other people's parents and stuff, that I didn't really have any point of contact with. But any real direct contact with a person, they needed me for a reason, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And me, all I wanted to do was smile.
Yep.
And when you're in that type of violent situation, my smile became a challenge. Every day, until I turned 12 years old, somebody did their best to knock the smile off my face, violently. Wow. And it never worked. I always smiled. And I still do.
You still do, man. Yeah. And that's obviously not easy. And what made you, I guess it's the chicken or the egg argument here. Were you resilient before these traumatic experiences that you went through happened, or as a result, did you become more and more resilient with the smiling?
Well, here's the thing. In the last 4 years, I've done a real life review for myself so that I could understand these things.
Okay.
Because I didn't have any of this. It was just a whole bunch of supposition and no real answers for myself.
Yeah.
as I started going back and learning, I started understanding that, I'm severely autistic. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I was born with what is kind of like Asperger's. It's when you start offering labels, no label fits anybody perfectly.
Right.
So it's kind of like you can only go
So far.
What I had was all of my senses were super high. So my emotions super high.
Yeah.
My feeling, if you touched me, it hurt.
Wow.
So my brother's response to hurting me or touching me and hurting me was they would tickle me. And what you might think is just it was excruciating to me.
Yeah.
However, here's the beautiful thing that happened. They broke it. I can hug you, I can shake your hand,
Yeah.
I can love you, and it doesn't hurt me. So the torture that my brothers did helped me.
Wow.
Okay, but I didn't know it then.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I'm 50 years later I go back and look at it and go, hey, maybe it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's the beauty that we are offered as adults, is the impressions that we get as a child about our lives and the answers we create as a child. They really don't play so well as an adult.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you had to get everywhere on the bicycle you had when you were 10 years old, you'd have a very limited life.
Yeah.
But we seem to want to get everywhere on the crap that we create as children.
Yeah.
And think that we're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of realizing that maybe I don't need the bike anymore, I can get a car.
Right.
But I got to learn, I got to teach myself that it's just a tool.
Yeah.
But if I tell myself that bike is my entire life, I'll never turn to a car.
Yeah.
And so the lessons that I had as a child were like a whole lot of bikes.
Yeah.
That I was not willing to put down. I'll trade for this bike, and this bike for this bike.
Yeah.
But never was I willing to grow up and be an adult and buy a car.
Almost like tunnel vision, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of the traumas.
Yeah.
The traumas just come at you in thousands of different ways, and until you deal with them, you're going to have to figure something out. And that's my blessing was weed. Because my oldest brother was such a drug problem. I stayed the hell away from drugs all of my life.
Wow.
Because, I mean, where I grew up, you had two choices. Do drugs or get out. Because you did drugs, you're there. You're not leaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was terrified. I had to get away from it. And a few years ago, a friend of mine introduced me to some marijuana, and I found that all of that anger, I could calm it enough to maybe start working a little bit.
Yeah. It
And
helped
then
you
eventually-
function.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was less of just function. It was so I could deal with those things.
Right.
Because when you look at, just a small little caveat, that first rape, when I told my mom, she smacked me and said, "Shut up, you'll ruin his life." No, that ain't it.
No, yeah.
The next day, there was a cop that would drive around, because we lived on a campus, a university campus.
Okay.
There was a university cop that would drive around, and he always seemed like a nice guy. And I went up to his car and I told him. He invited me into his car, took me to a secluded place, and made me blow him.
Yeah.
So you got to understand that
You were losing trust.
there was no trust.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no trust anywhere.
Yeah.
And not very long after the rape, maybe 6 months, I was walking along and I saw this bus. It was a Sunday, and I asked them where they're going, and they said, "We're going to church." And I'm like, "Can I go?" They said, "Sure." So I didn't know where the hell they were taking me.
Yeah, yeah.
I went to this place, church.
Yeah.
And they sent me to Sunday school, and they gave me a gift that I had never, ever experienced to that point in my life.
You were what,
I had-
7 at this point?
No, 6.
6.
Just over 6.
Yeah.
I had 2 cookies and a glass of punch that was not adorned with anybody's spit. Because as a 6-year-old boy with 3 older brothers, I never tasted a cookie that wasn't either licked, spit on, or something.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, this is the greatest place in the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, they started talking about this person, this Jesus person. And this is less of a religious conversation. This is something that I found that I had never found before.
Yep.
This Jesus person was about love.
Yeah.
And I loved loving people. Even though whatever they did, it wasn't enough to stop me from loving them. Even though I felt like a complete idiot, because why is it that there's a thing inside of me that won't let me stop caring?
Yeah.
Why do I have to keep coming back just to get beat? But it was who I was. And when I found this character, I was amazed, because here's this person talking about love, not about sex, not about violence, not about control, just love. And I was like, I like that guy.
Yeah.
A couple weeks later, I'd missed the bus. And the church was about 5 miles from my home. And I was like, fuck this shit. I walked to the church. Now, I got to the church. I didn't get Sunday school. I was too late.
Yeah.
And I didn't even really get church. I just kind of caught the bus home. But the guy who drives the bus goes, you weren't here this morning.
Yeah.
I said, no, I walked here. He said, what? You know, because I'm 6 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I walked 6 miles
Yeah.
into town.
Yeah.
You know, and so I became a celebrity in their church, because here's this baby who wanted to see Jesus, wanted to be a part of this feeling. You know, and it was a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
The drawback is that, you know, reality is that the ideal is the love, but we're flawed people. And a lot of those people who I think they meant well, they still had their traumas. I mean, I've had sex with people telling me not to have sex before marriage.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it's a hard thing to really take that from somebody. And they're behind you, banging at you, and they're going, you shouldn't have sex before you're married. And I'm going, really?
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing some of the conversations I've had with people. Because I told, well, you and I have had a conversation that, you know, I went back over the last few years and talked to the people who have been my greatest bullies.
Yeah, and I want to get into that. I do want to get.
We'll get to that in a minute. You know, but I mean, that was part of my healing.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. You had to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without it, there was no way of. It was all guessing after that.
Yeah. So to give a time frame, you found Jesus.
I found Jesus at 6 years old.
Yeah, you found Jesus at 6 years old, and so now you're going to this church, Sunday school.
And then you know, things broke down. My mom moved away. My mom moved a lot.
Yeah.
The most stability we had was during that period where my mom was going to college. My sister and I have a very special relationship. We've always been able to communicate whether we used words or not. For the biggest chunk of my early life, I hardly spoke at all.
Yeah.
She's 3 years younger than me, but I tell you, we've always had this place where we could communicate together.
Yeah.
And when she was 2 years old, she could do mathematics and read very well. She's an incredibly intelligent person. And I remember talking to her and telling her that you really don't want to show these people because once you show people, they can do some really bad things. And
Show them her talent.
show them what she could do. And she did. She showed them in preschool, and they moved us onto this campus, and they studied her. And by the time she was 5, she was not in a good place. Now, it could have been a lot more than just the stuff that they did to her, because there was so much going on in our lives that she was broke.
Yeah. Were you, all 4 of you, were you all victimized?
All 5 of us?
All 5 of you,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We victimized each other. We were victimized by everyone we knew. There was a point where my mom took us to Arizona, and my sister and I were sold into this place where this entire group of people had sex with us.
Wow.
It's amazing we even survived, because we weren't even... it was 1977, so I would have been 9 years old and she would have been 6.
Wow.
You know, and so I mean, the level of violence and abuse, you start to understand at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, when I was 12 years old, I moved in with a man who only molested me. He didn't beat me. He didn't starve me. And you know what? I survived. Because you people go, oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
And you go, no, check it out. If you're starving on the street over here, you know what's more horrible? Starving on the street.
Yeah.
Because there's so much violence in certain pockets that it's worth a little bit of something so that you can live. Because I got through high school, I learned how to perform. He was a musician, so he taught me music to a degree.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to establish my life. I just talked to him a couple days ago. He's a dear friend of mine. I love him very much. His name is, well, I don't want to give his name out because that's not
fine.
cool.
That's
but
fine.
I mean, the thing is that it was less about what he needed to do to me.
Yeah.
And I can give you the whole reason of why he did what he did. And yes, I could blame him. I could say, you evil motherfucker.
Yeah.
But how does that solve anything for him or me? But by creating a conversation together, we both get to heal. And we both get to be okay.
Is this one of the people you had to go back and visit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I've been back there a couple times. Both times drove back, I stopped and had dinner with him and talked to him.
So for better or for worse, what I've learned so far is that because of these traumas, or maybe just in general, your memory you have pinpoint accuracy, it seems, with
Well, that's a I can get into the science of it. There's neuroscience involved. Okay. Remember your Psych 101, the Pavlovian thing, conditioned response.
Yeah.
Okay. So when my friend gave me the weed, I found that I could calm myself. Then I started studying how our brains work, and I found that when we're babies, we go through a thing called theta consciousness, which means that a baby just absorbs information. They don't challenge it, they just absorb it. And then in that way, they get lots of information, good and well. We lose that ability to have theta consciousness after we get to about 4 or 5 years old. But we do maintain about this much of it. We get about 5 minutes before we go to sleep and 5 minutes when we wake up. Now, so what I did was I made sure I was very high before I fell asleep, and as soon as I woke up, I started smoking. What that did is it solidified this theta consciousness, so that when I go to work, when I smoke, my brain goes into theta consciousness like that. So I can start working and I can absorb great amounts of information, as well as have access to any part of my mind or body. Because I don't know how much neuroscience you've studied or not, but if we think that it's all up here,
Yeah.
it's not.
It's not.
It literally is throughout our entire body,
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
it be our enteric nervous system, which is our stomach,
Yeah.
or our vagus system, which is where our fear comes
Right.
from. And there's real anatomy there.
Oh, I believe that because from musician's standpoint, when I learn piano and I'll revisit a song I hadn't played for 10 years, my fingers are doing the thinking at times because they remember the muscle memory, we call it, right?
That's right.
Motor skills. That muscle memory. In fact, I had a student who was 75 years old resume lessons after 65 years because he was young. He went to military. He was part of a military family, graduated into being a military a soldier, put away piano for over 60 years. He calls me, he says, I want to restart. He says, I don't remember a lick. He said that. He said, I don't remember a lick. I was 10 or 12. He spent the first day of lessons I had with him. I was reviewing scales, literally the basics. He learned. He said, yeah, I think I remember these. Literally 2 weeks later, he was playing Moonlight Sonata again. He had played it when he was 11. And he had mastered it. I mean, he was Suzuki method all the way. Right. And so at 75, fast forward 63 years later, and he was the fingers, and he told me the same thing. He's like, my fingers are doing the work. I didn't know that I remembered it. I just know that I played this song. That's the only, I just remember the title.
I can honestly tell you the reasons why that works.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's unimportant right now. But I'm saying
Yeah.
there's real physicality
Right.
in why that works.
Yeah.
And we want to look at our brains as this big mystic thing that nobody understands. And the beautiful thing about where the various discourse communities, whether it be neuroscience or genetics or quantum physics, whatever it is, they all say very similar things. And even theology, they say very similar things. And when the information that we have available to us through the internet allows us to find those things. I don't have to delve elbow deep into neuroscience to understand how my brain works. I don't have to spend 12 years doing that. But I can read about it, I can learn about it, and I can go, okay, I get how this works, and I can take this over here and go, I see how this works. And wow, they look very similar. Maybe they're saying the same things. And maybe the thing inside of me looks kind of like them. Maybe that's the same thing as these two things. And you start drawing those correlations, and sometimes they're bullshit. I ain't gonna tell you. Sometimes the work for months just to have it go, ooh. And that's the beauty of any work, is understanding that you only go so far, and then you come back and go so far and come back, and eventually you get there. 2 steps forward, 1 step back is the way I live my life. And it takes forever to get anywhere. However, when I fall, I only fall 1 step back. If I run up 10 steps, I still got to go back to that only 1 step ahead. So I got to fall back 9 steps to get there. So I've taught myself to just be comfortable with 2 steps and be okay with the fall back. Then take 2 more, fall back. And eventually I get there.
And that resiliency, I mean, I would say that's part of that is resiliency, because
absolutely, that tenacity is important. I mean, the whole idea of not letting them beat the smile off my face.
Right, that's what I wanted to get to.
That's that.
You didn't even know that's what you were doing.
But I did, because there was a movie back in the 70s called Cool Hand Luke. And I was a little bitty kid, and I saw this movie. And there's a scene in Cool Hand Luke where Paul Newman and George Kennedy are in a fight. And Paul Newman is much smaller than George Kennedy. And George Kennedy just beats the hell out of him. But Paul Newman, no matter what, keeps getting back up. And even when George Kennedy won't fight him anymore and picks him up, he's still hitting him as he's being picked up.
Yeah.
You know, he's not doing anything to him, but I mean, it's that fire that it's like, you know what? You can try to kill me and go ahead. I'm gonna get back up.
Yeah.
And even I have prayed, pleaded with God, let me just stay down.
Wow. Internal battle.
Please.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the pain.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you what, there hasn't been very many days in my life where the pain hasn't been incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to carry that shit with me. Because those traumas, they're a special kind of gift.
Yeah.
And in order for me to even move, part of our anatomy is called our vagus system, VAGUS, and it keeps us from moving. It's called our freeze. Okay, we talk of fight and flight, but if you're too small to fight or flee, you got one choice, like those goats, you freeze. And so, because the traumas were so severe, so young for me, that was always on. It's like driving with your emergency brake. Everything I wanted to do was like, fuck.
Yeah.
In order to even do it.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it was just like the tickling, it broke it. Eventually it broke it. Eventually, with the trip, it broke it.
Wow. So going to you went to church. Church wasn't what you thought it was going to be.
Right.
And then
moved in with moved in with someone when I was 12. You know.
Right. And then we move on and you how do you come out of that?
Okay, well, so I not such a bad singer.
He's a great singer.
And well, I had a full scholarship to Southern Illinois University for music, singing classical music. I wanted to be a blues singer, you know, because that's what I do. Argument bars, I sing, you know. You know, all the classical stuff, that's no fun. You just scream and holler at people, and people, money's never been a real big motivator. I tried for a period with my second wife to concentrate on money, but I'd given up music, and that's where I destroyed my life, actually.
Yeah.
You know, but we'll get to that here in a minute. So college, dropped out of college, played music. When I was 26, 25, I met, damn it, I'm trying not to use people's names.
We'll edit it.
Please. I met my first wife, and she was a stripper. I'm a musician. Match made in heaven.
Or hell.
Well, her father was a retired chief master sergeant of the Air Force, or master sergeant in the Air Force.
Okay.
And she wanted to join the Air Force.
Yeah.
But she smoked a lot of weed, and at that time I didn't smoke anything. So I helped her stop smoking weed so she could pass the drug test to join the Air Force. So she joins the Air Force, and she leaves on Wednesday, and on Friday her recruiter called me, and I'm like, I think I'll go too. And he's like, okay, you can go next week. And I was a week behind her, and I joined the Air Force right behind her. We ended up in the same squadron together. We got married, got stationed in Las Vegas, got divorced in Las Vegas. We needed each other to break the pattern that we were in. The Air Force was the best thing that could have happened to me.
At 25, what was your pattern?
Giving up. I had, when I dropped out of college, I dropped out of life. I played music, but I didn't do anything else. And I didn't make enough to really support myself. And I wasn't even any fucking good at it. You know, that's the real problem with the traumas, is that as much as I want to play good music, I couldn't.
Yeah.
It would just mess it up. You know, I could sing because the traumas don't get in the way of my singing. I'm lucky that way.
Yeah.
Well, they do to a degree. Sometimes
It can also help in a way.
no.
No? Okay.
That's a bullshit thing, and I can tell you why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, it's a football analogy.
Okay.
When you play football, your coach will tell you if you play with emotions,
Oh, yeah.
you're going to lose. Because all I got to do is mess you up and you're out of your game.
Yeah.
But you play with heart and you will win.
Yeah.
Because at that point you can focus your energy and accomplish your goal. And the same thing with music. I thought for years that as long as I played with emotions and passion, I could make that work. But it's just a lot of force.
I see.
The more I stay in my heart, the less force I have to do. It just flows.
I see.
And I don't get in the way, and I don't have the, I messed up. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem that I had with emotions. Was because in every concert you ever will go to, you will hear a mistake.
Yeah.
And if you're in your emotions, when that mistake happens, you go,
Yeah, you show it. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You see?
I see. So the difference between playing with heart versus emotions is that's where I was confusing it.
Yeah.
So okay. So at 25 you had given up.
I'd pretty much, I'd given up. Maybe about 24, I'd gotten into a car accident. I was driving along and some lady pulled out in front of me and I tried to avoid her and my arm was like this and the airbag came out and hyperextended my elbow.
Ooh.
So I had to go do therapy and everything else, and I started going to the gym and working out, and I started feeling good. And by the time I'd met her, I was playing more in St. Louis and supporting myself, but it still wasn't really. It wasn't really life.
Yeah.
The area back there. Even when I go back now, the economic opportunities are almost none. And because the economic opportunities are so minimal, the overall sensation of humanity is limited in opportunity. And that's unfortunate because when you get up every day and the majority of what you feel is just yuck, it's hard to keep your energy up. And so what she offered me was a way to break that. And that's what the Air Force did for me. I met people. I actually thought that I was doing well. I divorced my first wife, and I ran it about a year later, I ran into my second wife.
How old were you at this point?
26, 27.
26, okay.
You know, I mean, I met her in 96.
Okay.
We were married in 97. And yeah, we were married in 97. He was born in 98. But, you know,
Okay.
Here's the real kicker of it all. You know, I mean, my second wife had 3 daughters.
Okay.
I didn't know that when I met her.
Oh.
I met her. She had 1 daughter, a very little baby, and we were going out, and I enjoyed her. And then a few weeks later, 2 more girls showed up. They were at their dad's house.
Oh.
You know, so we were with him. It was a summer thing, so they were with him for the summer. So I didn't know, and she didn't tell me. And I was like, well, hell with it. I'll just be okay with it. It's just more people to love.
Yeah. Were you still, as far as love, were you still looking to give love here?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, every part of it, my intention in everything that I do has always been good.
Yeah.
It didn't always work out that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if intention worked, man, there'd be no limits. And that was the real bad part about the traumas.
Yeah.
Is that it'd be like trying to look through a kaleidoscope
Yeah.
and determine what's over there. You know, it's,
Right.
you may be able to see something over there, but all that shit's in the way and you're not really seeing it.
Right.
You know, so I met her, the 3 girls. I loved them very, very much.
Mm-hmm.
And we got married in February of 97.
Mm-hmm.
She got pregnant almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I got shipped to Texas.
You were still in the okay.
You're still in the Air Force,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
She was also in the Air Force.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I got shipped to Texas. And so she's pregnant with our son.
Mm-hmm.
And the 20-week appointment came, and they couldn't find a heartbeat.
Mm.
And so I had to come back from Texas. And I have this thing that my body developed when I was a kid to where when I can't take trauma, I start vomiting.
Oh, wow.
When it's just too much.
Yeah.
And that it sent me into one of those things. And it lasted for 6 weeks. They cut my gallbladder out. They did it was a big mess.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I hadn't found the answer to that until about 6 months ago. Finally, a doctor and I figured it out.
Wow.
You know, with the help of other friends as well.
Right.
You know, but I mean, you wouldn't believe the last few years because going through all this life trauma had triggered the thing 8 times. The 8th time was the last one that, you know, thanks to the medicine, it works. But then one time I puked for 2 months straight. I lost 45 pounds. It was horrible. In excruciating pain, you know. But finally we found the answer.
Yeah.
And and it's really just my enteric nervous system goes through what they consider migraines.
Wow.
So, and because this system here has just as many neurons as like a dog's brain, so it can have migraine episodes. We think migraine headaches,
Yeah.
but it's a migraine episode.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it's simple migraine medication. I take a shot, I puke for 12 hours, and then they take another shot, and it's done. You know, it's pain for 12 hours, but
You've limited it to 12
it's
hours.
only 12 hours.
Yeah.
It has stopped.
It's a blessing for you.
You can't imagine. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
You can't. I can't drink water.
Wow.
I played a show a few years ago when it was going on. It was 100 and some degrees outside. I hadn't drank water. I hadn't eaten in 2 weeks, and I still did the show. You know, and I don't know. I don't know how I did it. I ain't gonna lie to you. The guys in the band were like, "Whew," you know, because I couldn't stand up, but I did the show.
Yeah.
You know, and these traumas affect us in so many ways.
Yeah. Tune in next Tuesday for part 2 of my conversation with Dennis McBride. Together we'll purify the mind and have a good time. I'll showcase your very best.